So here we are in Bronx, New York, day after Christmas. I think it's called Boxing Day. And we're in a little park area outside because the family's asleep home in a tiny little apartment. And we're here with Dana Kay. And we're covering Bhagavad Gītā, chapter 7, text number 15. And do you remember what the what's going to be discussed today? The number 4 is going to be used. 4 types of. Do you know what category or what thing we're going to talk about?
Does it still have to do?
Not the acronym, but related to the acronym, yeah.
I didn't look too far ahead, I have to admit.
Okay, it's the 4 types of people. What was the previous verse? Daiviyesha gunamai mamamaya durachaya mameva ye padyante maya tamtrate. So one question is, if God's his everywhere, his energy is within everything, then why doesn't everybody surrender to God? He's just everywhere. Like, how can you not see him? Or why would intelligent people recognize him? Or at least the smart people. I got my wife made this kind of, she's tapping into her fashion designing.
Oh my goodness.
It says Hare Krishna, but it's like a punk rock sweater.
Oh, I love it.
Every town and village.
Oh, wow. I love it.
So she's went to fashion school here in New York. She went to FIT, Fashion Institute Technology. Really good with interior design and all kinds of things. So let's see. Yeah, let me pull out my iPad.
Yeah, I'm on my other screen looking at the verse.
Did you have a wonderful Christmas?
I didn't do anything eventful. It was just me and my dogs, and that's okay. I'm still dealing with my one dog. She's pretty sick, so I'm trying to get her better. So it's been a bit of a rough couple weeks, but she's definitely doing better than she was. Just this poor dog's been through the ringer, I swear. So we kind of just took it easy.
Okay. So here is the 4 types. So I'll read the verse. Namam duskritina mudha prapadyante naradhama maya prahrityajnana asuram bhavam ashrita. So the translation is, those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are the lowest among mankind, and whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. And I'll read the purport. It is said in the Bhagavad Gītā that simply by surrendering oneself into the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality, Krishna, one term out the stringent laws of material nature. I believe that's the previous verse, isn't it? The aviation, my nature is very difficult to overcome. Mam prapadyante, mayatam tarantite, but one who surrenders unto me can easily, can one surmount the stringent law of material nature. At this point, a question arises. How is it that educated philosophers, scientists, businessmen, and administrators, and all leaders of ordinary men do not surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna? the all-powerful personality of Godhead. Mukti, or liberation from the laws of material nature, is sought by leaders of mankind in different ways with great plans and perseverance for great many years and births. But if that liberation is possible simply by surrendering to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then why don't these intelligent, hardworking leaders adopt this simple method? The Gita answers this question very frankly. Those really learned leaders of society like Brahma, Shiva, Kapila, Kumaras, Vyasa, Devala, Asita, Janaka, Prahlad, Bali, and later Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Sri Chaitanya, and many others who are faithful philosophers, politicians, educators, and scientists, etc., surrender to this lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the all-powerful authority. Those who are not actually philosophers, scientists, educators, administrators, etc., but who pose themselves as such for material gain, do not accept the plan or path of the Supreme Lord. They have no idea of God, and they simply manufacture their own worldly plans and consequently complicate the problems of material existence in their vain attempts to solve them. Because material energy, nature, is so powerful, it can resist the unauthorized plans of the atheists and baffle the knowledge of the planning commissions. The atheistic plan makers are described herein by the word duskritanaha, or miscreants. Kriti means one who has performed meritorious work. An atheist plan maker is sometimes very intelligent and meritorious. Also, because any gigantic plan, good or bad, must take an intelligence to execute. But because the atheist's brain is improperly utilized, opposing the plan of the Supreme Lord, the atheistic plan maker is called duskriti, which indicates his intelligence and efforts are misdirected. In the Gita, it is clearly mentioned that material energy works fully under the direction of the Supreme Lord and has no independent authority. It works as a shadow moves in accordance to the movements of the object. But still, material energy is very powerful, and the atheist, due to his godless temperament, cannot know how it works, nor can he know the plan of the Supreme Lord. Under the illusion and the modes of passion and ignorance, all his plans are baffled, as in the case of Hiranyakashipu and Ravana. Can you hear the train in the background? Or is it quiet?
I can't.
Okay. Whose plans are smashed to dust, although they were both materially learned as scientists, philosophers, administrators, and educators. These duskritinas, or miscreants, are of four types, as outlined below. So it's a long purport you see so far. Now they're going to start describing the four. Here we go. So number one, the mudhas. So can you say that?
Mudhas? Is that how you said it?
Yeah, mudhas. So my spiritual master, he was telling me long ago, he was a young devotee, and this is when he was probably in his 20s. He was just shooting books at the O'Hare Airport, O'Hare Krishna Airport. O'Hare, you know that? And devotees just distribute hundreds and thousands of dollars of books at airport, like massive amounts of books. And they mean all kinds. One time he met I think it was a Christian Indian. And usually, if you were to say the most kind of antagonistic group is often the Christian Indians. I don't know, there's just some reason that they feel some tension. Because they see that we're possibly because we're following something that's from their own culture, and it's a little bit threatening because they're following something of a different culture, and they don't think they feel like everybody should be Christian. And so he was kind of following this devotee around, and like harassing him and arguing with him and just following him around. And so he turned around and he said, "You mudha." And the guy was, he huffed and he puffed. He said, "Oh my God." And he ran to get a security card. He said, "He called me a Buddha." The guy's like, "What's that?" "He called me a Buddha." It means a fool, a donkey, like a fool. And in Hindi, there's a Hindi word that's wonderful, just a fool. And he created such a scene with the security guard, and the security guard took him away.
Oh, jeez.
So it's funny. Krishna does use this word very often in the Gita. I'm not sure if we had it yet. Maybe in the 15th chapter. And there's asamhuda. That's another word. I think we did have that. Asamhudo. Remember? Verse 1. We can know Krishna without doubt. And some usually means like complete, like Sankirtan means a full, complete kirtan done together with others. Samudho means like a complete full, but asamudho means the opposite, completely without any doubt, with full clarity. Because when you put the A, it reverses the meaning. So here's number 1. The mudhas, this is the purport continuing. The mudhas are those who are grossly foolish, like hard-working beasts of burden. They want to enjoy the fruits of their labor by themselves. And so they do not want to part with them for the Supreme. The typical example of the beast of burden is the ass. This humble beast is made to work very hard by its master. The ass does not really know for whom he works so hard day and night. He remains satisfied by filling his stomach with a bundle of grass, sleeping for a while under fear of being beaten by his master, and satisfying his sex appetite at the risk of being repeatedly kicked by the opposite party. The ass sings poetry and philosophy sometimes, but this braying sound only disturbs others. This is the position of a foolish, fruitive worker who does not know for whom he should work. He doesn't know that karma action is meant for yajna, sacrifice. So that's the donkey. Donkey works. Grass is available everywhere, but he will work like a donkey, like a fool, simply to be rewarded with some grass. And basically, what is this? This is the American dream, isn't it?
So
you
true.
Work real hard. You work real hard. All you got to do is work real hard, and you'll get everything you want. Just work like a donkey. That's everything is there. Now, if that was true, then why wouldn't we have hundreds of Bill Gates? Hundreds of Steve Jobs. There's definitely people who are as smart as Bill Gates. There's definitely people as smart as Steve Jobs. And there's definitely people who are smart as Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and work as hard as them. But they may not have the karma to receive the reaction. Many of these very wealthy people. That's not to say that they're pious in this life, but in their past life, they definitely did some piety to work and have to achieve such success. But the American dream is that all you have to do is just work, work, work. And if you just work all day, all night, like I think compared to a lot of other countries, we have less time off. There's less time for self-reflection because there's just so many work days, and people will work constantly, and not see that there's more to life than just working. And so someone who is here, he says, the person doesn't know who to work for. They don't want to give some of their profits or their energies towards self-realization or towards God. They're trying to just work hard and just, let me see if I can work hard and enjoy. So this is kind of the kind of foolish, just this foolish mentality. Okay. Well, let's continue. Most often, those who work very hard day and night to clear the burden of self-created duties say that they have no time to hear about the immortality of the living being. I don't have any time to hear about the soul. You got to work. Let's see. To such mudas, material gains, which are destructible, are life's all in all, despite the fact that the mudas enjoy only a very small fraction of the fruits of labor. Sometimes they spend sleepless days and nights for fruitive gain. Although they may have ulcers or indigestion, they're satisfied with practically no food. They're simply absorbed in working hard day and night for the benefit of illusory masters. Ignorant of their real master, foolish workers waste their valuable time serving mammon. I believe that's a biblical term. You can either serve mammon or material energy, or you can serve God. Unfortunately, they never surrender unto the supreme master of all masters, nor do they have time to hear of him from proper sources. The swine who eat the night soil. Do you know what that night soil means?
I do not.
It means the pigs that eat the poop.
That's what I was wondering, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. The swine who eat the night soil do not care to accept the sweetmeats made of sugar and ghee. So sounds great. People in America, they eat pig, but they don't know what pigs eat. The pigs highly prefer to eat poop. If you go to India or go to some other country, you'll see them in the open gutters. They'll chase somebody who's going to the bath, or they'll follow them field. And if you were to offer him a nice wedding cake, or or show him where the bathroom is at, he'll gladly choose the bathroom.
Wow, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, pigs are and they're, and you can see that there's some religious, Muslims and Jewish people, they don't eat pig, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But pig's flesh quickly fills up with maggots and all. It's really nasty.
Wow.
And all meat's gross, but pig meat is especially gross. I mean, especially if you think of, this is a creature that lives on a diet of excrement.
Yeah. Wow.
And you're like, what? It tastes great. That's a foolish thing, and it's just disgusting and unhealthy. So the swine who eat the live soil do not accept the sweetmeats made of sugar and ghee. Let's tell Raghunath knows. So that's a t-shirt right there. Coffee mug. It's a little long, but it's definitely a very poetic sentence. Similarly, the foolish worker will untiringly continue to hear about sense-enjoyable tidings of the flickering mundane world, but they have very little time to hear about the eternal living force that moves the material world. So that's the Buddha. Namam. So do you remember what na means? Na.
Nah, is that what you said?
Na.
So that's not?
Not, yes. And mum, not me,
yeah.
mum. Duskritino. What is duskritino? Papa was talking about that. Duskritino. Kriti means the credits, meritorious credits, a due. Oh, here's somebody joining in.
Oh, yeah.
Andrea, welcome. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Andrea. I don't know if you're free. So we're reading Srila Prabhupada's purport of 715. And now we're just kind of covering the first words also. So na, bum, not me, duskritina, the duskriti. So do, bad, duskriti, kriti means credits. Those who have intelligence, have capabilities, but they misuse it. Those are called miscreants.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one that we read are the mudhas. And so Dana K is going to tell you what a muda is.
Foolish. They're a fool. they work hard and they have all this knowledge, but they're not really using it wisely. They're not really working wisely, I guess you could say. So they're just foolish in where they're spending their time and how
And what animal was given it?
they're working.
Who was the analogy of the
Oh, and the donkey. The donkey
Yeah.
that works really hard and
for grass? Where's the grass available?
gets this little bit of food, but like you said, there's grass everywhere. But
So the foolish, materialistic, fruitive worker works hard for material enjoyment. But those material enjoyments already appear due to one's karma. Just like how many of us pray for material distress? We don't pray for material distress, but still it's supplied to us. We get our dose. So we get our dose of the good karma as well. We don't have to work like a donkey hoping to enjoy. So that's they focus all their energies in trying to get some fruits out of material nature by just working hard like a donkey. But the donkey really doesn't enjoy very much. He hopes to have some sexual enjoyment from the she donkey, but she may kick him in the face, and he just gets a little bit of grass at the end of the day from the master. So he's not really enjoying life. He's just working. And so that's the first type of duskriti, kind of person who doesn't really, they say, I don't have time to hear about the soul, the immortality of the soul, and all these things. I got to work. So yeah, they're fooled. What did we say? This is the American dream. We're taught just work hard and everything will come. So all you need is to work hard. Okay, so now we're on the next class of duskriti. So mom, na, mom. Let's say that first two words.
Na, na,
Duskritino,
Skritino,
Buddha.
Mudha.
Now, this is what are they not doing? This is prapadyante. This is an important word that will appear 5 or 6 times in this chapter. Prapadyante. Surrender. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite words.
Yes, it's nice. When we were going through it the other day, I think 2 classes ago, we were like, wow, and it really appears a lot of times in this chapter. It helps see all the nice connections. So prapadyante. The previous verse, I believe, has prapadyante as well. Prapadyante. So you want to give it a try, Denike?
Prapadyante.
Yes.
Prapadyante.
Now, this next class is called the Nara Adhama. Nara Dhamma. Udara. Adham. Adham. There's Urdhva and Adha. Whoever has done yoga, have you ever taken a yoga class where they call the poses in Sanskrit?
Yes.
So there's Urdhva, Mukha, Svanasana. Upward facing dog. And Adha, Mukha, Svanasana. Downward facing dog. So Nara Adhama. Nara Dhamma. Nara Adhama. Nara Dhamma. Adha. Adha. Like in our chapter 15, there was the first verses. Urdhva Mulam Adha Shakam. Upward facing and downward facing branches. Upward facing roots and downward facing branches. Adashurdvam. That's in the second verse as well. So let's see if we can understand number 2. Another class of duskriti, I would say, yeah, number 3 is easy to understand. 2 is and each, if you look at the acharyas, they also explain this verse with different angles of vision. Let's see how it's explained here. Another class of duskriti or miscreant is called the Nara Dhamma, are the lowest of mankind. Nara means human being. Where have you heard this word, Nara?
Narasimha,
Yes, and what does that mean?
the Lord Narasimha, he's the half lion, half man incarnation.
So which word is the lion and which word's the man?
Isn't Nara the man part?
Yes. And who's Simha? Simha means lion. You know what it also means?
What?
King. Lion and king. You've seen this word, Sinhalese, Singapore. The Sikhs, their last name is Singh for king. It's Singha. They're just stopping the A. Singh. Singh. The Sikh, the people of the Sikh religion. They have the turbans and the beards. They're kind of and so everyone has the last name Singh, because Singh is king. And so Simba means lion, king. Easy to remember. Singapore used to have lots of mountain lions, so it's called the Pura, the place of Singa, of lions. So here the word is Nara, humans. Another class of Duskriti is called the Naradama, the lowest of mankind. Nara means human being, and Adama means the lowest. Out of 8,400,000 different species of living beings, there are 400,000 human species. So this universe is described that they don't describe what are the species of this planet. They describe what are the species of the entire universe. And according to the Vedas, there is in the Padma Purana, there is a whole description of this many kind of types of species of plants, this many kind of species of bees, this kind of species of insects, this kind of how many species of birds, etc. And according to the Vedic literature, there is 400,000 human-like beings in the universe. Out of these, there are numerous lower forms of human life that are mostly uncivilized. Now, these species, it's a little bit, it's not as easy to understand because it's not species as we understand. It's not like a genetic family or something like that. I think, it's not like a Hanuman who's a Vanara, which is like a Bigfoot standing on two-legged, but it's not a human. That would be considered a human-like species. Out of these, there's numerous lower living forms of human life that are mostly uncivilized. The civilized human beings are those who have regulated principles of social, political, and religious life. Those who are socially and politically developed but do not have religious principles must be considered Nara Dhamma. Okay, so this is also mentioned by the Acharyas. This is basically someone who has cultivated or has awareness of principles of spiritual life, principles of civilized life, but has kind of rejected it, decided to go, just let me go down, let me forget about all this. So you have like someone who was born in a Brahminical family, but then just lives a life of drinking. One second, let me just right. So those who are socially or politically developed, but who have no religious principles must be considered Nara Dhamma. Nor is religion without God religion, because the purpose of following religious principles is to know the supreme truth and man's relationship with him. In the Gita, the personality of Godhead clearly states there is no authority above him, and that he is the supreme truth. The civilized form of human life is meant for man's reviving the lost consciousness of his eternal relation with the supreme truth, the personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is all powerful. Whoever loses this chance is classified as a Naradhamma. We get information from revealed scriptures that when the baby is in the mother's womb, this is in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd canto, an extremely uncomfortable situation, he prays to God for deliverance, and promises to worship him alone as soon as he gets out. To pray to God when he is in difficulty is a natural instinct of every living being because he's eternally related with God. But after his deliverance, the child forgets the difficulties of birth and forgets his deliverer also, being influenced by Maya, illusory energy. It is a duty of the guardians of children to revive the divine consciousness dormant in them. The 10 processes of refletory ceremonies, as enjoined in the Manusmriti, which is the guide to religious principles, are meant for reviving God consciousness and the system of Varna Shram. So this is in Hindu or Vedic culture. There's all these ceremonies to help elevate a person. So basic ones that we're aware of are wedding ceremony, that you're taking a committed union that's also committed to religious life, to spiritual life, to following principles of Dharma. And you have initiation. That's another one. You also have the conception ceremony, where the couple will basically develop or cultivate their consciousness so they can attract a particular appropriate soul into this world. So, they'll chant maybe 50 rounds, things like that. In that way, there's the first grain ceremony. There are all these first things that a child does. It's done with Krishna in the center. The first time they have grains, it's a big, or basically say solid foods, you could say. It's at the temple, they have a whole big ceremony. First time they write the alphabet, they do it with the priest, and there's a whole ceremony. So all these big firsts that we do, it's kind of to help revive the lost consciousness of his eternal relationship with the Supreme Truth. Okay. The duty of the guardians. Okay. However, no process is strictly followed now in any part of the world. Therefore, 99.9% of the population is Naradama. So basically, it just seems like Naradama means those who they have maybe some structure, some social structure. They're civilized, but they're lacking the spiritual civilization. They're lacking any type of social, the whole structure that helps us to grow spiritually. When the whole population becomes Naradama, naturally their so-called education is made null and void by the all-powerful energy of this physical nature. That's a good point, that Maya, her job is to keep us in illusion. So many people, we try to understand, how God this or that, but if it's not in that mood of love and devotion, we can't understand it, because Maya's job is to keep us in illusion. We can't understand the universe, God's. Like you would think, someone's really intelligent. There's a lot of intelligent people out there. They should be able to figure out how God and his interaction with material energy and all that stuff. If we just think about it a lot and discuss a lot, then we should come up with the answer. No, because Maya is all powerful and empowered by God too. She's meant to keep us in illusion, because our desires are inherent. The desire that we're being attached to, the inherent desire that keeps us in this material world, is this envy towards God. And so he is not going to reveal himself if that's not our real desire. Now, if we come to one, what does that say in the Gita? I think it's chapter 2. One pointed, like, this is what I really want. Then Krishna responds, okay, that's what you really want. Just like, any of you have any children?
Just fur babies.
Just fur baby. Okay, so they don't really tell you things. So
I have a few of those.
You got some fur babies.
No,
So
I have human babies.
Human baby. So if your human baby says, I want to go to sleep, I want to eat, I want to go outside and play, I want this toy, I don't want this toy. They keep on saying all these different things. I can't really do anything for you because I don't know what you want. You don't know what you want. And so that's kind of the nature of how we are in this material world. We're all over the place. I want you, Krishna, but I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that, I want this. But when he becomes I want you, Krishna. I want you, Krishna. I want you, Krishna. I want you, Krishna. And say, oh, okay, I guess you want me. Then let me start to remove this curtain of Maya. All right. So continue on this purport, long purport. According to the standard of Gita, a learned man is he who sees on equal terms the learned Brahmana, the dog, the cow, the elephant, and the dog eater. I forget what chapter that is. It's Brahma Hastinigavi. So he sees the soul in all creatures and the super soul in all creatures. So he has this equal vision. That is the vision of the true devotee. Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who's an incarnation of God and is the divine master, delivered typical Naradamas. Okay, here we go. Here's an example of a Naradama. It's the brothers Jagai and Madai. So they were born as priests. They were previously Jagannath and Madhava. Took on the nicknames of Jagai and Madai, and they became rapists, murderers, and thieves, and arsonists. And so they had civilization, but they went down. They left it. They left their kind of spiritual culture. Typical. So Nityananda showed how the mercy of the real devotee is bestowed upon the lowest of mankind. So the Naradama is condemned by the personality of Godhead. Who is condemned by the personality of God can again revive his spiritual consciousness only by the mercy of a devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in propagating the Bhagavad Dharma activities of the devotees, has recommended that people submissively hear the message of the personality of Godhead. The essence of this message is Bhagavad Gītā. The lowest among human beings can be delivered by submissive hearing process only. But unfortunately, they even refuse to give oral reception to these messages. What to speak of surrendering to the will of the Supreme Lord? Naradamas, or the lowest of mankind, willfully neglect the prime duty of the human being. Okay, so we have some conception of that. The next one is a little easier to understand. I think number 2, the second one, is a little bit harder to conceptualize it. First one was also a little easier. So number 3, third Duskriti. The next class is Duskriti is Maya Prahitya Jnana, or persons whose erudite knowledge has been nullified by the influence of the illusory material energy. They are mostly learned fellows, great philosophers, poets, literati, scientists, etc., but whose illusory energy misguides them, and therefore they disobey the Supreme Lord. Hold on one second. There are a great number of Maya Prahitya Jnana at the present moment, even among the scholars of the Bhagavad Gītā. In the Gita, in plain, simple language, it is stated that Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is none equal or greater to than he. It's a little hard to read outside here. He is mentioned as the father of Brahma, the original father of all human beings. In fact, Sri Krishna said not only to be the father of Brahma, but also the father of all species of life. He is the root of the impersonal Brahman and Paramatma. The super soul in every living entity is his plenary expansion. Can you hear the ambulance? He is a fountainhead of everything, and everyone is advised to surrender unto his lotus feet. Despite all these clear statements, the Maya Prahitya Jnana derived the personality of Godhead and consider him merely another human being. They do not know that the blessed form of human life is designed after eternal transcendental feature of the Supreme Lord. They don't understand that human life, human beings, are man is made in the image of God. That's the last sentence. We do not know the blessed form of human life is designed after the eternal transcendental feature of the Supreme Lord. All the unauthorized interpretations of the Gita by the class of Maya Pratyajnana outside the purview of the Parampara system are so many stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual understanding. The deluded interpreters do not surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, nor do they teach others to follow this principle. So, very simply stated, you have a nice religious country boy, and his life of simplicity has facilitated him to easily be open to the idea of God and be attracted to it. But they enter a university, and their so-called education actually makes them more ignorant, makes them atheistic. So that's what it means. Maya is illusion, prakriti. And the hrita means to steal or to take. So prakriti, maya prakriti jnana, that their knowledge has been stolen by illusion. And their so-called knowledge has actually stolen their knowledge. The deluded interpreters do not surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, nor do they teach others to follow this principle. So there's many translations of the Gita in English, and the translators don't translate the actual message. Surrender to Krishna, like Prabhupada quotes one Indian politician who translated Gita in English. And he translates the verse right. He says, Krishna says, surrender unto me. This is, I believe, chapter 9. Yeah. Always think of me. That's what he says. Always think of me. And the translator writes the translation, always think of me. But in the purport, he rejects that. He says, no. It's not to Krishna that you should think. Krishna is speaking. Like we're reading this chapter 7. He says, me, I, unto me. And those who don't surrender unto me, me. And then he says, no. Don't surrender unto Krishna. Don't think of Krishna. Think of the unborn within Krishna. What does that mean? Where does it say unborn within Krishna? There's actually no distinction between Krishna's inside and outside. That's a total misconception. So Maya Prahityajnana means that person, their so-called education has made their outlook more narrow, not more broad. Any comments or questions? We have the last one after that.
Why do some people view Maya as demoniac? Like Maya is a demon, like as a bad thing. Like, why do people jump on that bandwagon?
It's like when you have right now I'm in New York City, and in front of a garden here, there's a fence around the whole thing. And oftentimes when you see a young tree, when the tree is young, you got to put a little fence, or it has no strength to stand on its own. So when our devotion is young, when our spiritual practice is young, we put up all these little fences that may actually they're not the tree itself. They're not the tree of devotion. They're not the bhakti lata bija. They're not. So, for example, say somebody he looked at, women as just something to consume, just some object, great attachment. And then he learns about spiritual life, and he learns, okay, that kind of conception is wrong, and that's very detrimental for your spiritual life. And so, instead of becoming unattached, he becomes averse. It's the flip side of the same coin. You got the heads and you got the tails. It's the same thing. So he's like, I hate women, or I don't want to be around women, or it's like he has like a very aggressive, and maybe in that point of his life, just to mature a little bit, he might need that little fence. It doesn't necessarily mean the fence is actual truth, or it's actually like the tree of spiritual knowledge. It's not the real substance. It's a stage of immaturity. So Maya is Krishna's energy, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gītā. It says, if we study Maya in relation to Krishna, then we transcend Maya. That's in I think it's second canto, chapter 7. I think it's the last verse. There are sometimes it's used in a negative term, like there's this song, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol. What is it? No, I think it's a different one. I'm trying to remember this song. I can't. It's my. How long will you sleep in the lap of the witch called Maya? So Maya, she has a thankless task, and that is to keep us in illusion. And so, for example, like here, it says Maya Pratyana, stealing our knowledge. Her job is, if we don't have the right conception, that we're not approaching, we're approaching with envy, with pride, with lust, then that's not the nature of the beings in the spiritual world. So we're kept into the material conception of life. She has two powers, two techniques. She covers Avaranatmika. There's a Sanskrit term. She has basically two kind of wrestling moves. One is she covers, and the other one she drags down. So our intelligence becomes covered, and then we also become dragged down into a even lower conceptions. So, and sometimes, it can be said negative, but we understand this is Krishna's. What was the previous verse? Daiviyesha. This is my divine energy. This is Krishna's energy. His divine energy. It's his. So.
Yes, and that's what I find so confusing is it's like, even like, sorry, I lost we're in Gita 7. I think my page flipped over. You're reading the purport on 15, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Sorry, my page just flipped over. That's what like I find so. I guess maybe that's like where my confusion lies. It's like, okay, even if, like, yes, we know like Maya is that, and it's like I guess maybe I should have qualified my question with. It's like, why do people like see Maya as like, I guess, a quote unquote bad thing when it's like, even like, if one believes that Krishna has created everything, even the demoniac entities, when it's like the demons who chose demoniac life because it was a shorter life, and demons who chose demoniac life specifically to be killed by Lord Shri Krishna. It's like, why are we like seeing this as a bad thing? I feel like, like Krishna created that for us, like to help us cling to him and to remember him. And I often find in many Krishna conscious circles, it's like, oh, Maya, like Maya's like, oh, it's like bad, it's gonna drag you down, like, oh. And I'm thinking, but Lord Krishna created that for us because like we're in this plane of material existence to draw us to him. Or maybe I have a wrong understanding, Prabhu.
So yeah, sometimes I describe like somebody asked, like, okay, like a Christian says, well, do you believe in the devil? And it's like, no, everything, because like Christian concept is like you got God, and then you got like this other figure that seems to have some independence from God. He has like, like God doesn't know what to do with him because it's like, it's like DC Comics where it's like one powerful good guy and there's some powerful bad guy. And I said, no, our conception that everything is it's all under God's control and will. So you come to the pearly gates of heaven and you knock on the door, and who answers? The devil answers. And the devil says, oh, you want to see God? Well, just take a look over here. And he shows you a pile of gold and jewels. Oh. You start going that way. And then come back some time later, knocking on the pearly gates. I'm ready. I want to see God. I want to see God. I want to see God. The devil answers the door and she goes, oh, you really want to see God? Manifest some other attraction. So the devil's job is to keep, or Maya's job is to keep insincere souls out of the spiritual world. That's her service. We call it a thankless task because nobody likes it's her service to Krishna. But as Krishna says in the previous verse, if you surrender unto him, it can be easily crossed to beyond. All you have to do is surrender unto him. And this Maya can be Sarantite, can be overcome. She will back off the living entity according to surrender. So she's just doing her service. She's different. She's not actually in the category of like the demons and the devils. That's something completely different. Demons or devils or other there's Daiva, there's other creatures of different species. Yeah, there's all kinds of species of life as a living entity is manifesting all kinds of desires. And this whole universe is like, just think about it. You got one body, so much variety, so much different desires expressed in just a human body. Then you got a whole universe of 399,999 other species where we can carry out different desires. And yeah, the machine works that eventually the soul can realize that none of this actually satisfies me. I need to seek something more substantial. And from there, they may seek liberation. And from liberation, they may seek something higher, devotion to the bhakti. So I'm going to read this last part. The last descripti is about the asuras, that those who are just openly antagonistic. The last class of Duskriti is called the Asuram Bhavam Ashita. Now, those of demonic principles, this class is openly atheistic. Some of them argue that the Supreme Lord can never descend upon this material world, but they're unable to give any tangible reason as to why not. There are others who make him subordinate to the impersonal future, although the opposite is declared in the Bhagavad Gītā. The envious of the personality of Godhead, The atheist, envious of the personality of God, the atheist will present a number of illicit incarnations, manufactured in the factory of his brain. Such persons, whose very principle of life is to decry the personality of Godhead, cannot surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Sri Yamunacharya Alabanduru of South India said, "My Lord, you are not unknowable to persons involved atheistic principles, despite your uncommon qualities, features, activities, despite your personality being confirmed by all the revealed scriptures and the quality of goodness, and despite your being acknowledged by famous authorities renowned for their depth of knowledge in transcendental science and situated in godly qualities. Therefore, one, the grossly foolish, the donkey-like people. Two, the lowest of mankind, those who are like Jaggais and Luddites. Three, the deluded speculators, those whose education has brought them further away from God. And four, the professed atheists, as above mentioned, can never surrender the lotus feet of the personality of God in spite of all scriptural and authoritative advice." Now, we do mention it in the purport. Prabhupada says that the Duskritis, though, or the Naradamas, all these people can be benefited by the association of the devotee, but on their own, they won't surrender. None of these four will surrender. The next verse will also deal with the four who do surrender. Those are the four that don't, and then the next one is the four that do. Ooh, it's a little chilly out here.
I have a question.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so getting back, because I do have several children, I have 5 kiddos. And so my question is,
nice.
Thank you. When Prabhupada talks about the 10 processes of reformation for like the guardians of children, are we to like look at those in the Manusmriti, or do we just follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement and just chant with our kids, expose them to chanting, expose them to Mahamantra?
It can be both. Prabhupada did we talked about Garbhadam Samskara, that's the conception ceremony, but he didn't have he didn't do the whole Manusmriti style. Like there's all these different kind of ceremonious things that may happen. He said, no, just if you want to conceive a child, couple goes and chants 50 rounds. There you go. There's your ceremony. Or wedding. We have weddings. Sometimes, not always. They have a fire yagya. But if you want to follow like the Vedic wedding, it's like some 4-day affair. It doesn't have to be a 4-day affair. The idea is just put Krishna in the center, have chanting, have kirtan, things like that. But all these ceremonies, like the first grain, have prasadam and have priests and offer the sweet rice, things like that. Not necessarily meant to be rejected, but main thing is like hearing, chanting Krishna's Leela, pastimes, storytelling, and if you consider, say, some family does some ceremony, and they have like a first grain ceremony for their child, and they just have a ceremony and that's it. Whereas another family, they never had a ceremony, but with their kids, they share Krishna stories and they have kirtan. Which child is going to be more positively affected towards spiritual life? More likely the one that has the hearing and chanting and the kirtan and storytelling. So oftentimes, only some of these ceremonies are done. Like there's a book called Samskaras, which are the description of the various ceremonies. And like there is a certain stage in pregnancy where they take the quill of a porcupine and they part the wife's hair and they chant a mantra and I've done that ceremony before, but I've only done it once or twice or three times. There's, it's not that devotees do all these different ceremonies. It's, the main thing is, the first grain, it's very easy. Put some sweet rice, offer to Krishna, go to the temple, invite everyone to see the baby get his first time, get a grain, and chant and everything. Yeah. But not necessarily that we're strict ritualists in a sense, like doing all these Vedic rituals, because most of them we don't know how to do so completely, and they're not a big part of our general lifestyle. Main thing is daily kirtan in the house, the Bhagavatam in the house, the reading and the Bhagavad Gītā discussion in the house, these things like that. Does that make sense?
Yes. And so is there like somewhere where I can just like say, like find a list of like, okay, these are the 10, or do you know them off the top of your head?
Yeah, there's a book called Samskaras. I have to see because I think there's more than 10 listed there. So I want to know what are the big 10? I'm not sure what is it. Well, you got the funeral one, that's one. You got the wedding, you got your initiation, you got the conception, you got I think first grade. That's 5. I don't know what.
Is the book Samskara? Is that like, where can I find that?
I have it on PDF. I could send it to you. Yeah, and it's not written in any user friendly way though. Not exactly user friendly, but I can send it to you.
Yeah, I'm just curious to know like what, like when Prabhupada says these things, like what are those? Like I don't know, like these questions pop up.
yeah, I can give it to you.
Yeah, awesome, thanks. What's your temperature there?
It's not that cold, but it's a little. I'm living in Dallas, so right now, what is it? 46. It's windy though.
Yeah, especially when you're just sitting.
Yeah. It was in the 30s, but this is a much nicer day.
Did you come from the Dallas temple, Prabhu?
Yeah, I'm Dallas. I live right across the street in Dallas temple. We're visiting family in New York.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what? Did he move to New York? No, you're just visiting. Okay. I was about to crack my brain.
Yeah, all my family are in this little apartment right now. Our cousins took our kids to a light show, and it was far away, and they drove, and they went to some vegan place that was open 24 hours, and they got home at 1 something. And so when I left, most of them were still asleep, and it was like a tiny apartment. It's like, yeah, I'm going to give this class. Let me go walk outside somewhere. So here we are. All right, we didn't really get practice the verse much, not much at all, but it was a long purport. It's good to really conceptualize all the 4 clearly, because we can recite the verse, but it really makes sense. Helps if we when we say each word, a light bulb is clicking off in our head. Not every single like little grammatical like and, they, there, or this or that, but like Naradava, Buddha, Maya Pritagyana, and Asuram. The light bulbs should go off when we say those words. Oh, those are the 4, and understand what those 4 were about.
No, this helped a lot. It helped a lot to go through it like that.
Oh. And I just read Prabhupada's purport. If you look at the email, there's more to go. There is Burijan Prabhu's study guide. You can just look at that because he kind of takes the elements of all the other 2 acharyas and Prabhupada in a kind of summary form. I think it's the last part of the email. I'll just look at that one. It kind of sums up with all 3 of those different commentaries.
I have to. I must have missed that email.
Oh, you get the weekly email?
I get the Google Calendar email. I have to look.
Oh,
I'm not very tech savvy.
yeah. It should say it should be Bhagavad Gītā 7:15 memorization. That's the name of the email. When it
The
comes
emails
out,
are awesome, so you have to find it.
yeah, they're all the reading is there. A whole lot of reading.
Okay, I'll have to sift through that for sure. Well, Prabhu, I understand, like, your time is valuable. If you have time and space to go over the verses, I have the time as well, but I understand if you don't.
What's that? All right. Okay, let's give it a practice. Namam duskritino mudha prapajante naradamaha mayaya prahritta jnana asuram bhavam ashritaha. Namam duskritino mudha prapajante naradamaha mayaya prahritta jnana ashritaha. Somebody want to give it a try?
I personally I like when we do like line by line rather than just like all four at once, because like I'm not there yet.
Okay, yeah. Namam duskritino mudha.
Namam diskritino mudha.
Prapajante naradamaha.
Prapadyante naradamaha.
Mayaya prahritta jnana.
Mayaya paritta jnana.
Asuram bhavam ashritaha.
Asuram bhavam ashitaha.
So we didn't cover the last words there. Ashrita. Does that word sound familiar? Ashram, shelter. Bhavam, nature. Bhavam is kind of the verb to be. Taking shelter. They take are those who take shelter of asuram, of openly antagonistic nature towards God. Those who take that approach, they can't, surrender. Wind is blowing. And here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, dushta means evil or spoiled. And kritanaha means clever. Those who have evil intelligence are of four types.
Prabhu, which whose commentary is that?
That was Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And that's in the emails. One time they asked Srila Prabhupada, what book would you like to translate next? And he said, oh, maybe this. He named off a few books, and he said, oh, our Bhagavad Gītā. And Prabhupada, you already translated Bhagavad Gītā. And Prabhupada said, no, there's so many commentaries. So many, Ramanuja, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladeva Vibhushan. So it's like a jewel. You can see it from different angles. And like you take some jewel, you hold it to the light from a different angle, another color comes out. Another angle of because Krishna, he's infinitely intelligent. So he says in like these little 2 lines or 4 lines, there's so much there. Like I learned this aha moment. There's a aha. The first letter in Sanskrit is and the last letter in Sanskrit is ha. And the first instruction of Krishna is ashochan, starts with the which means don't worry. And the last instruction of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gītā is masuchaha, which means don't worry. So you find all these cool things by these acharyas. And Prabhupada basically, because Prabhupada is following the parampara system. If we read Baladeva Vibhushan's purport, Prabhupada, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gītā, he says, I dedicate this book to Baladeva Vibhushana, who so nicely presented Govinda Bhashya commentary on Vedanta Sutra. And so Prabhupada, because he's doing the parampara system, which means he's repeating the message of previous acharyas, most of the purports are almost exactly identical, even like the verses that are quoted and things like that in support. But sometimes there's like different angles, or there's Prabhupada is speaking to a more of a modern audience, but yeah, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladeva Vibhushan, sometimes you get a little bit of a different angle. And it's nice to like dig into a verse. Even I haven't studied much of Ramanujacharya ones as well. That's another one you can study. Any questions, comments? This is from Baladeva Vibhushan. On the bottom, there's this footnote. The 4 types are enumerated here. 1, those who think that God has a material body, such as those following the path of karma. 2, those who do not believe in God at all and just engage in material pursuits. Those who think that God is prakriti, or material nature, such as the Sankhya philosophers. And the atheistic, those who think that God is impersonal, such as the Dvaitins. So that Acharya, Baladeva Vibhushan, he compares different philosophical groups in the Vedic culture in India at the time, and lines them up with the 4 types of people who don't surrender. All right, I think we're done here. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Get warm.
Yeah. Get back in the house. The apartment's warm.
There you go.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Thanks a lot. Haribol.
Tat Sat.
Bye-bye.
Nice.